Now, I remember when I interviewed Charles Cosby, he said that your mom actually started Pablo Escobar in the business.
Yes, 100%.
When Griselda was operating on a large scale in New York, at that time, Pablo Escobar was a car thief. He stole headstones from the local grave, shaved inscriptions off and resold them. So that's how Pablo Escobar made his living.
Okay.
So Griselda took him under her wing. He became her protege. So that's how he got his start, through Griselda Blanco.
Can you talk about that?
So Pablo's boss and Pablo were contrabandistas, but Pablo was a little famous in Medellin because he was a real good car thief and cemetery thief. In other words, he'd go to funerals, and when people would be buried with jewelry and stuff, not only would he dig them up and steal whatever they had on, but he would steal the plot, shave the plot off and resell the plot again. But he was into stealing a lot of cabs and cars, Renaults. That's why he would race Renaults. And the only place you can actually conduct criminal activity and chop cars and all that was in El Barrio Antioquia. And my mother ran those rackets as well. But it really, at that time, my father was already a godfather. Pablo was a car thief still. So there'd be times that, like, I've heard of a time that he bought a fleet of cabs that they hit in like a whole weekend. They had hit for like 10, 20 taxis. And my father had shut down El Barrio, cerrar El Barrio. They do that a lot in Colombia. Like when you have warfare, they'll close the whole vicinity. Kind of how cops do a perimeter. My father would do a perimeter for killing and start tying up loose ends. And Pablo was trying to make his way into El Barrio with the 20 taxis. And he makes his way in, and my father straight up kind of got a little loud with him and told him, do me a favor, grab you, your little goons, and these 20 fucking cabs, take your ass back to Envigado. We're busy today.
Okay. And early on, what was your mom's relationship with Escobar?
Of a mentor, and my mother was seen as something else in Colombia. Like I said, eventually everybody knew she was a criminal and she was this queen pin. But at one time, she was just a political lady that owned the whole city. All the best real estate, the best houses, the best buildings, and she owned businesses. So she was like a real estate czar. And then cat's out the bag. There's too much money, cocaine money. She starts buying up malls and supermarkets and land that people of corporate entities wanted. So if you were a multinational and you wanted to invest in Colombia and you came to Medellin, you wanted those 10 square city blocks to build your supermarket. Yeah, Griselda owns that. You got to buy that from Griselda. So she had a lot of political influence and she had a lot of business influence. But once the killing that my fathers and my uncles started doing in Medellin because of the base epidemic, then the cat was out the bag. Then everybody knew. But Pablo's boss was a contrabander, and he was a very well-known contrabander. He had made a lot of money in San Andresitos. San Andresitos are like flea markets, right, throughout the whole country. So he had a lot of money, and he got into cocaine. And the only way you could ship the routes, use the routes, was with Griselda's permission. Later on, Pablo took over the routes. So he starts working with my mother, but then he tries to do some side shit. And then he tries to do his own routes. And my mother didn't like that too much. So I guess my mother was about to do it to him. And Pablo would always come and hang out in Barrio Antioquia, hang out with the beautiful prostitutes that basically probably worked for my mother's racket as well. And they start meeting each other a lot. And then my mother kind of starts mentoring him and kind of, I don't want to say brainwashing, but kind of throwing the little nit at him. Listen, you might have to get rid of your boss in the future for me or for yourself. Because if you don't kill him, he's going to kill you because we're too friendly. And then lo and behold, the guy puts a hit out on Pablo while he's in prison. And then Pablo jumps out and kills him. So they had a bond. Right. My mother was like, hey, thanks for that. I wanted him out of it anyways. And then Pablo tells my mother, how can I get money like this? And she goes, pump your brakes, but in the future, I got you. And that's what it was. His first 100 kilos, he called up my mother, and he said, like, I got 100 kilos. And she's like, that's it? Ship them, they're done, half an hour. And she made him his first $1 million.